So, how are you? I mean, have you been busy? Are you working now? Are you on a break?
Not quite. So we actually break tomorrow, which is really, really exciting.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so still been really busy. I
Mm.
literally just this evening I'm sort of I'm a bit of a baker and I'm sort of the baker of the cast for the most part. And
Oh,
so
cool.
when it's someone's birthday or like when it comes to like end of the year, I'm like, oh, I gotta bake something. I gotta,
Hmm.
that's why my hands are blue because I've got
Yeah.
food color. They're not always this color. Um, and then every time, I mean, it always works out, but I will say the journey of the bake is always such a disaster. There's always just like something that goes wrong. I'm really messy in general, and I
Mm.
just don't bake in a neat way. And so it's always chaos. And there's always midway through, and I'm just like, why am I doing this? I don't even
Mm.
want this anymore. Like, I don't even want to eat this. But now it's all done and it's in the fridge and
Yeah.
it's fine. But yes, it is that kind of end of the year busy delirium
Mm.
energy for the
Yeah,
most
yeah,
part.
yeah. I'm sure it doesn't stop for you though, even through the break, because I'm sure you're still going on with other things. Uh,
It's true, actually. Yeah, I am a big kind of workaholic, and I even when you're on the break, like when you get moments to yourself, for me at least, I'm like, oh, there's all these things that like I want to do now that I haven't had a chance to do,
mm.
whether that's personal kind of things, like writing projects, or it's like just certain movies I want to go see that I haven't had time to see, or just things like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I have to get good at finding a balance between doing the things I want to do in the break, but also not putting too much pressure on myself to
Mm.
have a good break
Yeah,
because I
yeah.
do that well.
Yeah, no, of course. Going back to the baking though, who have you actually baked for? Just out of curiosity, because you said it's for the
Absolutely. Who
cast
I
and
bake
crew.
for?
It'd be quite cool to know.
Yeah, well, I mean, crew, whoever, if it makes it out of the makeup truck, because the sometimes I'll bake, like I'll literally just like dump a baked good that I've made, and then I'm like, I've got to go though, so you guys hand this out.
Mm.
And then sometimes it doesn't make it entirely out. Like I one time, um, Jess, who plays Harper, she had a big shoot day out, not even out on location, like it was kind of like a different location and they were kind of in the bush and it was going to be really hot and ticks are an issue they had to be careful of. And it was just going to be such a big, long day for her. And I was like, I'm going to make two batches of cookies. I just think it'll like lift everyone's spirits. Um, and so I made two different batches, one with some specific allergy stuff because Tristan Gorey has some allergy dietary requirements, no nuts, no dairy, no seeds. And I always remember that. So I made them and then I was like, great, I'll give them to Jess and I'll get her to like make sure the makeup girls bring them out to everybody at some point in the day. And then I asked someone who was on camera, I was like, did you end up getting one of the cookies? And he was like, what cookies? And I just
Mm.
went, oh gosh, I think makeup I think makeup had a really nice day with those cookies. And
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it was makeup truck that got to enjoy them.
Well,
But other who have I in the cast made for? It does depend on schedule and it does depend because some people are cheeky and they don't tell me when their birthday is, so then I don't
mm.
find out too late.
Okay.
Yes, M. Weir. I baked for Tristan, Steph Panozzo. Who else have I baked for this year? Juliet. Juliet's cake was maybe one of the best cakes I made all year. Just it happened to be that way. Some people
Mm.
get lucky where like the heavens open up and the cake is phenomenal. And Juliet was the receiver of that one. Trying to think of anyone else.
Probably everyone.
That's to me. Probably everyone in
Yeah.
some way. And then they're just sort of random, just random mid-year bakes as well,
Mm.
depending on what I feel like.
Sounds fun. Was it like that on
Yes.
your first day joining? Because would you say you're still a new actor to the show, or would you say it's gone past that now?
I would say we're past that now.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I would say so. Especially because
Yeah.
we've had new people coming in and stuff like that. As soon as you're kind of no longer the newest person, even, you don't feel that new.
Mm.
But no, I didn't rock up day one with baked goods. I've always liked to bake, but I never had enough people like around to eat it. And it wasn't actually until I started at Home and Away and Laura, who is like our kind of like mama and she's like runs makeup, she was like, if you bake, I will eat it.
Mm.
Please bake. And so then that really actually kicked off, and my baking skills and interest in it has just sort of at least tripled on this show,
Mm. Yeah.
funnily enough.
Well, that's good. It's good to know. You got good reviews.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was your first day like though, like on set? Like, what was it like for you joining the cast? Do you
Hmm.
have any memories of it? Just out of
That's a good
curiosity.
question. Yeah, I remember, what do I remember? I remember getting the job and moving over from Perth. It was very quick. It was sort of like within like a 2 week turnaround.
Mm,
And I had been maybe for the first time in my life, quite settled in Perth. And so I remember it being very, just it's sort of just feeling very, what is the word? Kind of discombobulated by it all. Like moving to Sydney just out of the blue, and it just kind of felt like a weird holiday. Like I couldn't really, because as well when you first moved, like they kind of put you up in just like temporary accommodation so you can find a place and things like that.
mm,
And so I remember you're kind of just like living out of like a hotel room and just sort of feeling like, whoa, is this real? This feels really crazy. Um, and I remember lots of stuff gets explained to you because obviously Home and Away works so fast, and it has a very particular call sheet that doesn't really read like other call sheets. And there's the studio one, and there's the location one, and then there's the travel schedules, and there's like all the people and all the moving parts.
mm.
And I remember just getting introduced to everyone and being like, okay, I'm going to learn some of these names at some point, but it's I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
couldn't retain any of that information. Um, so I think a lot of people thought on my first day, I think they thought I was quite shy, which I'm definitely not.
Mm,
But I honestly think I was just going like, what is this? Like,
yeah.
where am I? I feel like I was in like a weird little dream that I couldn't really wake up from. I was like, I don't know
Mm,
what's going on. Um, so yeah, I think my memories of the first day was just kind of I remember being driven back to the location, so driven back to the accommodation, and Em Weir was in the car. I think Em Weir was one of the first people I met,
okay.
and she was so great and so sort of just like Em Weir is, who plays Mackenzie, just sort of like so warm and so kind of confident and
Yeah.
bold and just like, I'm here, hello, and let's talk about Sydney and where are you going to live and what do we think? And I'm just going, oh
Yeah.
my God.
I feel like she's
Uh,
that kind of person that can make you feel comfortable.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
totally is. She gave me her number straight away. She was like, call me if you need anything,
Mm,
any questions, let me know. Like she just made me feel very comfortable. Um, and I think my first few scenes I shot were quite rarely they were like sequential, like they were in order, usually for Home and Away. A
mm,
lot of those, I mean, actually not just Home and Away, on so many film things, you'll just shoot completely out of order.
mm.
Um, but because we were all, and I mean, for so much of that beginning storyline, I was just in the beach house. I was fortunate enough that my first few scenes got to be kind of back to back to back. And yeah, I remember my first way that I came into the bay, I climbed through a window.
Okay.
And I remember
Good
I
info.
had, yes, I had one scripted, they're very rare, but I had a scripted, oh my God, and they're not, usually it's no one can really say that. But I
Okay.
do remember tripping kind of sort of through the window and just under my breath, I think it wasn't an extreme profanity, but it might have been another like, oh Jesus Christ, that
Okay,
kind of
that's
thing. And
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, and I remember having the sound, what are the what sound mixers, so who was on
Mm.
boom, said to me, yeah, you can't say that.
Okay.
No, you can't say that. And I was like, oh gosh, I didn't even realize I said that under my breath.
Mm.
Um, And yeah, I remember that. I remember tripping through the window, kind of acts almost swearing, but not quite. Um, and then being like, right. And yeah, that's kind of my memory of my first day. It was over really quickly because we shoot so incredibly quickly, and I'd never shot anything that fast.
Yeah.
So I remember it was just a couple of setups, a couple of takes, and then it was like, all right, moving on. And I
Mm.
was like, oh, I've got all this energy and all this momentum to like work a full day, but I didn't realize I was already done.
Yeah. Wow. Sounds like a lot. What's the
Mm.
reason for the not being allowed to say, "Oh my God"? Then is that like just a on-set thing, or is it like
Oh,
is
no, no,
there
no. Yeah,
religious
so that's
reasons, or yeah.
I think that's like the show allows a little bit of improvisation and things like that, which is great.
Mm.
But just considering the time slot and who the audience is. Like we don't know who would be, I guess, when I say we, I say like I think Channel 7 has to think about who would be offended and things like that. And
Oh
there
wow.
might be people who are religious, and if like an unwarranted Jesus Christ slips out, I think they're just yeah, they don't want to be in a position of offending anyone, which is,
Yeah.
fair enough. I think that's where what, like classic Alf, like Flame and Galar comes
Yeah,
from.
yeah,
I think
yeah. It's very
Flamen,
much the
when you hear
same.
it a couple of times, you're pretty clear what
Yeah.
Flamen actually
He's
means.
already pushing the boundaries. Yeah,
Yeah. So I
yeah.
think it's you know, 7 p.m. as a time slot, like they just have to, there's all these things that you kind of have to obey, like from a
Mm,
storytelling perspective, which can be really interesting. Like when my character um was overdosed with fentanyl, not a spoiler because it was so long ago.
yeah.
Um, they couldn't, I remember learning this, they couldn't show the syringe going in.
Mm,
Not that we actually had a syringe full of fentanyl, but we did
yeah, yeah,
have like a TV kind of prop syringe, which means it will push into the skin. It doesn't do any harm.
yeah.
But they literally couldn't show that on
Okay.
camera because there is some kind of guideline around that.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, they have to be, and all shows have different restrictions in different ways. And so, say like necessity is the mother of all invention. I
Mm,
feel like all shows and all projects are beholden to certain rules, and Home and Away is no different. It
mm.
has a whole host of rules, whether that be because of its time slot, because of its genre, or a myriad of things that
Wow.
they create story around. Yeah.
It's incredible what they can do on a show with the restrictions that they have. Because
Yeah.
if you're that limited, I'm sure it can be quite hard with, story creating, on the director side of it and the
Absolutely.
actors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean for everyone is works at an incredible pace. Like it's not even just the actors or the crew on set. Like it's the writers have to
Mm,
churn out story really, really quickly and edit it and polish it and put it together and then get it
mm,
in script. Anyone in the production office doing schedules or pumping out scripts or editing, or literally everyone
mm.
is working really quickly and under lots of restrictions. So
Yeah.
it is really amazing
Well,
when things come out and come to be. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I probably should have asked this before the first question, really. But when you're auditioning, did you know it was for Home and Away, or
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So knew it was for Home and Away.
okay,
Agent sent that through and I knew that was for Home and Away, and I'd auditioned for Home and Away before in the
mm.
past. Lots of Australian actors
Oh
will kind
wow,
of tell you people have had Home and Away auditions and experiences. It's kind of
I
such
haven't
an
had that
institution.
before. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So I'd auditioned for, I remember during COVID, I'd auditioned for Kirsty Marillier's character, Rose.
mm.
And I remember being on a
Okay,
callback for that, but it was a Zoom callback because it was all during COVID time.
mm.
And funnily enough, the Zoom callback was for Rose's character. It was a chemistry test
Mm.
for Xander, and it was with the brothers, because they test for like chemistry tests for siblings to see a vibe. And I remember reading with Luke Venos. He does not remember reading with me, but I do remember reading with him.
Mm.
Um, I was in Perth on a Zoom thing or whatever. But anyway, I didn't end up getting that role, and I never really thought twice about it. But it
Mm.
was funny eventually then coming to Home and Away, and our characters got paired off together. Um, and it was very funny because we could have in another universe been siblings.
Mm.
Um, but no, so when I got this audition this time round, I remember I just got an email through from my agents, and I'm usually very good and see my email straight away. But I was on a family trip when I got the email, like I was like in the plane,
Mm.
and so I guess I just kind of missed it, and then I just didn't see it for a full week, and then
Wow.
I think my Gmail kind of did that, like you got a message 6 days ago, do you want to reply,
Mm.
kind of thing, and I remember seeing it,
Yeah.
being like, oh God,
Mm.
this is an audition, whoopsie. I remember seeing it and being like, oh, I've got 24 hours to send. Like,
Mm.
that's the due. I got to send this through like now.
Yeah.
And I was in Canada and I just went, oh, so I rang up a friend who I knew lived in Vancouver and I said, can you get on Zoom with me in, a couple of hours? Just give me a couple of hours to learn it. Can you get on Zoom with me?
Yeah.
Can we record this? And I made a tripod out of some stacked up suitcases and I
Mm,
sent it on through, and then landed back in Perth a few days later. Got a phone call, a call back. Flew to
mm,
Sydney, auditioned, did chemistry tests for the sisters, for Dana and for Harper, and yeah, it was kind of I had a really strong feeling about it when I
mm,
was doing it. Jess and I both did. Like we were kind of there's really no rhyme or reason in audition. Like sometimes you can be the last one there, or you can be the first one there, or you can be the middle person to go, like, and get it. Like, and there's
mm,
no rules. But we just happened to be the last two kind of men standing, and we just looked at each other and were like, we just feel like this is something. I
mm.
just feel like we're gonna. And I never left an audition in my life thinking, oh, I'm gonna get this. But I
Yeah,
do
yeah.
remember looking at it and just going, gosh, this really feels like this is going to happen.
Mm,
I feel like we said to each other, we went, I think I'll see you in like 2 weeks.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. And then that's exactly what happened.
Well, it's good to know they
Yeah.
gave you a week, at least a week to respond though, because the offer could have been closed, I suppose. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. And I know people that have um, on the show who have had to move further with even less notice,
mm,
and lots of actors will tell you that. Like sometimes it's a strange kind of,
yeah.
it's a strange job. There's so many strange parts about being an actor, and I think one of them is getting a job that requires you to pick up and leave
Mm,
quite quickly for quite a significant amount of time sometimes.
yeah,
It's a
yeah.
strange reality. Yeah.
No, of course. You mentioned about, almost taking Kirsty's role,
Mm.
didn't you? Do you think you could have done that job? Do you think you could have portrayed her character?
No, I think she's
Mm,
perfect. I love her as Rose.
mm,
I think no, I don't think I always laugh that I joke that I have maybe more of a medical face than I do a police face. I don't know
yeah,
what that.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
It's just funny that you look around the hospital at all the different the actors playing the hospital, and you're like, why are we the hospital
Mm,
people? What energy do we give off that's
yeah.
hospital-y? But no, no, I think I
Yeah,
don't think I'm tough.
I suppose she's got like a serious personality kind of thing. Her character to
Yeah,
match it. Yeah.
I think Dana would have been. I mean, Dana definitely didn't start out as much of a silly goose as she is.
Mm,
That definitely was not the scenario that she was in, and that was not the scenes that I auditioned with. But the show gives you opportunities to add stuff, and I was really lucky that when I added some comedy and some kind of quirkiness, it was really well received. Um, and sort of yeah, it became I was really lucky. The writers really kind of like ran with it and sort
yeah.
of gave me a lot more of that. And so it kind of allowed a very beautiful, kind of quirky, offbeat kind of person to emerge.
Mm,
Um, but yeah,
yeah.
that definitely was not how I auditioned.
Mm,
And I think that would have been a harder energy to bring had I been Rose, had I been a police officer. There would have
yeah.
been less time
Yeah.
for jokes, I think, in
Yeah.
general.
I mean, you never know. It could still match somehow. If you don't know till you see it on TV, do you? I suppose, or
No, it's really true.
yeah,
It's really true. And people in the real world will tell you, like, regardless of what your job is, everybody has a sense of humor,
yeah,
and there's always time for jokes, and there's plenty of funny cop comedy shows like No Activity or Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Like,
mm,
you know, um, nobody is like their job entirely, you
yeah,
know.
yeah. Would you trade roles with anyone else though in the show if you could? If you had the opportunity, would you trade roles with someone
Is it
or characters?
temporarily or is
You can make that decision. Up to you.
temporarily for sure,
Yeah,
just because it'd be fun.
yeah.
I'm pretty devoted to Dana, though I wouldn't give her up for good. But temporarily, well, I'd like to be the one saving the day constantly for once.
Mm.
I Levi, Dr. Levi, apparently more than just a heart surgeon. I love
Yeah.
Tristan very much.
He was a
But
good
he's
laugh. He was a good laugh on the podcast as well. Actually,
he's
I was trying to understand his humor, and it's like he said loads of funny stuff, and I didn't even catch it until after listening. It was quite funny, really, that I didn't
yeah,
pick up
he's got
on
a really a really fabulous kind of like he seems quite, I think, quite serious and
Mm,
stern when you meet him, and he just so isn't like that.
mm,
Um, but yes, it's kind of hard to catch, I think, when you first talk to him
yeah,
too. But yeah, if I could be the kind of person that swans in with my stethoscope and I'm like, oh, like the heart cavity sounds full, I'm gonna fix it. Maybe
mm,
I'd do that. Um, or I would quite like to be Mackenzie as well, because she's always kind
yeah,
of like got those great power suits on and she can sort of just be, I don't know, strutting about.
yeah. Okay, interesting. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good choices. What? Yeah, what makes Dana's story unique compared to other characters in Home and Away? Do you think?
Her story or like her kind of just like her in general.
Yeah, yeah, her in general and story.
Hmm.
Well,
Yeah,
put
well,
both
actually,
together. Yeah.
both together is interesting because she does actually have quite a bit of story that really does come off the back of who she is. You know, for example, like she's terrible at keeping secrets, and then she sort of ends up speaking before she thinks, and then a lot of story comes out of that. Um, I would say what makes Dana unique. I mean, she is a very kind of individualistic, marches to the beat of her own drum kind of character. I think other characters are better with restraint or maybe being more adaptable to a situation, whereas it seems that she's not quite as adaptable. Like she has no filter and no, if she's unhappy about something, she's very clearly unhappy about it and is probably going to say something and then
Mm,
ends up saying something and then is like, oh, probably shouldn't have said that. Like I think what makes her unique or even the way she talks is different to a lot of
mm,
the other characters, like she gets a few more monologues and a lot more like rapid fire kind of almost verbal assault, just like words, 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 words at people and
yeah.
having them be like, oh, um, which is really fun to do and is a wheelhouse I live in personally, so I feel quite comfortable in it. So
Mm,
I really like doing it. So I think, yeah, I think she's different. I think she's different in that way, and she's definitely quirky. Feels like such a broad kind of
mm,
brushstroke to paint with, but she definitely is quite is quite quirky.
yeah.
I think in just her kind of the way she views things and the way
Mm,
that she approaches people, and she seems to have a real lack of boundaries.
mm,
Like I would never be so bolshy as she is.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, which is it's fun. It leads her into a lot of fun story.
Yeah. Okay. So I was reading up a link that I found online. It was either
Hmm.
about you or your character. It had something because you said mentioned no filter and her personality, being quite fun. I saw something about autism. Is that to do with
Oh,
you, or is that to do with your character, or is it just a complete different random
I'm
link?
I'm not sure. It might be, I don't know what that is. I have ADHD,
Okay. Oh, maybe it's ADHD. Yeah.
which, like so neurodivergency. Definitely I feel the lack of filter kind of thing or well, it's funny. It's like it doesn't even feel like lack of filter because when I'm doing it, I'm like, no, it's going through a great filter. It's only later on I'm like, oh, I think there's a
Mm,
few holes in the filter.
mm,
It's just because you know, you're thinking through everything. You're just thinking through everything very quickly. I think you're kind of skimming.
yeah.
And so then you see stuff, and then in hindsight, maybe some stuff could have kept to the self.
Mm,
Um, so yeah, I think there's definitely, I mean, I definitely bring a lot of the way that I work to
to the
when I
screen.
act, the
Yeah.
characters when I act. Yeah, so that
Yeah.
and that comes out through Dana.
Okay.
Particularly Home and Away is, I mean, it's not life because it's soap and it's lots of crazy things happen
Mm,
and in general and drama is not life. But there are lots of just kind of like everyday moments. And so yeah, it's really easy to pull from how you are in those
mm,
everyday moments. And
okay.
yeah.
It's nice to put the awareness in there because I only ask because I'm autistic as well. So I just thought I'd ask the question. It's something I relate to, so it's quite an interesting fact about it. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah. And I think it is good to bring awareness out to it and that
I know you
and
said ADHD, so they're two different
yeah,
things, but yeah,
two different things absolutely. But I suppose just any kind of neurodivergency or being on the spectrum
yeah,
or really just anything that's out of the just neurotypical kind of world,
mm,
I think is lovely to see on screen, and in a way that is like nuanced, and it's not just one portrayal of, like I can't think of any shows at the moment, but I mean, I feel like more shows have been coming out recently that have explored people's experience on the spectrum, for
Mm,
example. And we're not just seeing like one situation and one person on the spectrum. Like it's nice to see people live their entire life,
yeah,
and it not be
yeah,
the main plot point is they happen to be on the spectrum. You know what I mean? Like
mm,
that's we can
yeah.
do, I think, that as a
I
storyteller.
mean, I mean, I feel like there could be more awareness, like of people being on the mild sort of side of it, if you know what I mean, as well. I feel like there could be
Yeah,
more of awareness about that as well. That's just
I
my
agree
view.
with that.
Yeah.
No, I actually really agree with that. I would be really interested to see that on screen as well, because I
Mm,
think there is a lot of discussion around that and what that and look, it's I can't speak to your experience, and
yeah.
I'm not on the spectrum, but I imagine in the same way, like a lot of women, for example, don't get diagnosed with ADHD till a lot later because they mask really well and they just
Mm,
kind of blend in. I am very interested in what that experience would be for someone on the spectrum who is on the milder side, as you say,
yeah. Yeah.
because things slip under the radar a bit more and they get masked a little bit more in the kind of herd, in the kind of society thing.
Mm,
And so that must be very difficult, when you are kind of working through that, and how you kind of where your place is, because you
yeah.
know how to somehow kind of blend in, even if it doesn't feel quite right. Does
Mm,
that make sense?
yeah. 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 No, of course.
I'd be interested to see that story
Yeah.
wise.
Yeah, no, definitely. Going back to Dana though, going back to topic, um, do you, so you said like you brought some of your own personality into her character. So you would say you relate to Dana,
Yeah,
as a person? Yeah.
yeah. I mean, at least for me at the moment as an actor, I don't see characters as a way of like, oh, now I'm like stepping into this character. I think it's kind of like a soundboard with different levers and things pulled up and different levels. And it's just like different characters are, I think you have them in everyone inside of you and your access to everything. It's just sort of what levels you bring up and down. And yeah, there's lots of me in Dana, and there's lots of crossover. But of course, there are things that are different as well, and a lot of those are out of my control. Like I don't control what Dana does.
Mm,
That's the powers that be that write that plot, and so immediately I'll go like, "Oh, great! Like those are some differences." And so it's great work as an actor. It's very fun to kind of go, "Oh my God, I would never do that. Why
mm,
is she doing this? Okay, I've got to find." what what point of view, what opinion I have that would make me
yeah.
want to do that, that would make me feel justified in doing that. Because yeah, Dana feels very justified in doing a lot of the things she does,
Mm,
whereas I'm a lot more I would say people pleasy, polite, don't want to ruffle any feathers.
mm.
Um, but that wouldn't be so interesting on screen, I don't think.
Okay. I mean, it could be. You never
It
know.
could be.
Yeah.
It could be, as long as you got someone doing something.
Mm,
What's nice about Dana, I will say, she's a very active character,
yeah. Yeah.
you know?
No, of course, and it's nice to have the lighter side of TV as well, and have lighter characters that isn't always portraying a dark story as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely. You need a bit of comic relief sometimes.
Mm, yeah,
And it's always fun to do those storylines and to
yeah,
know, usually if you're doing a fun storyline, you go, gosh, I wonder what my colleagues are doing. I bet it's really intense. I
mm,
bet that's why I'm in a Can-Am driving funny.
yeah. No, I think I'll relate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you? So, did you ever feel uncomfortable with any scenes while filming? Is there anything that you felt uncomfortable with while being on the
Uh,
show? Well, as in filming for Dana.
yeah. I'm trying to think. Nothing in here. I mean, like acting can be. I think from the outside, it probably looks really just like you guys are just standing and talking.
Mm,
Um, it can be actually very grueling. It can ask a lot of you emotionally, and then also just sometimes physically. Just the heat, and you've got it actually sounds really pedestrian when I'm saying it now, like
mm.
flies. But it can get really uncomfortable. And I think when I was filming.
Yeah, well, it's all the small thing, not the small things, but it's also them things as well that. Make it
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, it's very mentally and emotionally draining for one. And then also, yeah,
Mm.
physically, for the Dana, what we kind of all kind of affectionately called Dana in the container. That was the
Okay.
second time Dana was kidnapped.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
entered the container. That was very physically uncomfortable. That was just like a long, hard 2 days of shooting. I mean, obviously again super super fast shooting in that like what was a shipping container
Mm.
with a couple of air holes punched out
Yeah.
of it, me, one camera operator and a boom operator. It was just so hot in there.
Mm.
I was wearing this big hoodie because when you get kidnapped you mostly want to be in like at least long sleeves so that if you fall they can put like
Yeah.
padded stuff if they need to. It's just easier. So I was in this big hoodie and it was such a hot day and we were just sweltering in this tin can basically. And
Mm.
I just remember that being, and then it just so unlucky for all the outdoor scenes where I'm like running, it was just pouring down with rain straight
Okay.
afterwards. It was really slippery. And so we're going, okay, don't slip on the mud, but also you still have to run because it needs to look
Yeah.
like you're running, hurt yourself, but run. And that was, I remember, just very physically uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Um, but I weirdly, even though it was very hard, I don't remember it being a bad day actually. Like I think I got so tired and kind of just like hyped up from it that I was just kind of like, whatever. Like
Mm.
at
Yeah.
that point, I think I remember we went, it was like a kind of an away shoot and we all went to like a country pub after and I was in really good spirits.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Got
that's what I
past
remember.
the tiring stage. Yeah, it's
Yes,
just
I do remember the day itself being very uncomfortable. Yeah.
no, of course. How long was you in the container for filming? If
For
you didn't
filming,
go,
I mean, that's
yeah.
the thing, right? We filmed so quickly, and yet there were so many scenes in that damn container. I want to say I was in there at least all morning. So it would have been, I mean, at least a good 3 or so hours, 3 or 4 hours in that container.
Yeah.
Um, it was a long time to be in a shipping container.
Yeah, no, sure. Have there ever been any scenes sort of like where you've run out of time and they've had to just put the scene in there that you felt sort of could have been changed? Like, has there been, mistakes that have been put in the show when people don't actually realise it's,
Um,
does that make
so
sense? Yeah,
Yeah, so I mean, like, there's, I guess, a couple of things come to mind. Definitely, there have been times where, yeah, there have been, I mean, so many times we've run out of time,
yeah,
which happens a lot. I think it happens in all projects all the time.
mm,
And what we do to make up time, I mean, I've done scenes that were scheduled to be at least have at least 45 minutes to an hour. I've done in 10 minutes, you know.
yeah,
We've done pickups in different locations and kind of just had to justify that.
mm,
That's pretty common for filming world. Um, I do remember a character leaving, and her and I had a scene which was quite integral to explain like how we got to a different location. And I remember her leaving and us just going, I don't think we filmed that scene.
yeah,
I don't, I guess we're gonna have to, I guess that'll be a phone call from me that I'll have to pick up somewhere maybe or something. I've definitely done that and had to explain,
yeah,
things
yeah.
on phone calls. But in terms of like mistakes,
Just like, just they've put it in the
just
show because
classic.
they got no choice. Yeah,
I'm trying to remember. I mean, it's so funny because it's like it happens like the classic one, right? Like the Game of Thrones, the Starbucks coffee cup. Like it happens even on like an HBO level, which is just insane to me. It's just, but weirdly, we haven't had too many. I will say none that I've been in, but I have had people point them out later. I think I've seen a radio mic, radio mics wear them on location and not for
yeah.
me, but if you're a surfer, they'll just put them on the back of the surfboard because it's
Okay.
like you're not in a shirt, so they can't hide it. But it's definitely been seen on screen before. Someone's turned around and it's just been very clear that there's a radio mic attached to
Mm,
their board. Um, Small things like that. When Tana had the baby, like the stealing the baby storyline, um, obviously we do have babies come in that we use, but babies have a very very strict, specific way that you can bring a baby onto set, as it
Mm.
should be.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
We use a baby doll for a lot of it, and then we add in the baby shots kind of later on. Um, but I do remember, I think there was a shot where he was holding a baby doll, and it was quite clear that it was the baby doll.
Yeah, yeah.
Because great pains are taken so that it's not evident that it's the baby doll when it's the baby doll. But
Okay.
I guess something slipped through the cracks, as stuff does in the
Yeah,
filming world.
yeah.
And yeah, but I don't know how many people noticed it.
Mm.
But I just had an eagle-eyed friend be like, "That was a doll," and I was
It's good.
like,
It's
"Oh."
good. Yeah. It's funny what you can see, like, just very quickly, if you
Mm.
focus on it. And there's probably more than you realize as well, which is
Oh,
interesting.
totally.
Yeah. Do you ever, I've got a few more questions. I don't want to take up too much time. Do you have a favorite filming location, on set?
Great question. I totally do. I love the houses.
Mm.
Those are my favorites.
Okay.
Because they feel like the most kind of filled out and real to me. And I love all the like there's all those bookshelves are filled with books, like just genuine books. And so if there's
Mm.
ever like a lull, like I'll just kind of have a pick through and then I'll be like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna sit down and read this little edition.
While
Like,
waiting for your scene. Yeah.
yeah, and if I can film, Jess and I love to lay down and act. So
Mm.
if there's ever a scene we get to lay on Harper's bed, that specifically is my favorite place to do a scene.
Okay.
Hmm
Why is that? Is it just because it's a comfortable spot
It's
or,
comfortable.
yeah.
It's just comfortable and you just feel really relaxed. And it's usually if they are going to film something on a bed, it's quite intimate, and I don't mean in like a romantic way. Like I mean, it can be depending on who the thing is with. It's just usually more of a kind of intimate, quiet conversation,
Mm.
like that. So it's just usually it's quite nice. It's quite detailed. It's quite peaceful kind of work. You're not having a fight scene on the bed
Yeah.
usually. So yeah, that's definitely my favorite. And then did you ask me my least favorite, or is my mind just
I
negative?
didn't ask that yet. No. So you can cover it if you want. Put it in there.
The beach. I hate filming on the beach.
Really? That's the whole point of the show.
That might surprise people. Yeah, no, and it's gorgeous and it's beautiful, and definitely the beach is beautiful. It's just super bright. It's
Mm.
in the day. And I'm just going, and I get hot and I want to go in the water, but I can't because I'm working. So I
Yeah.
think for me, the beach is not my favorite
Okay.
place.
Yeah, that's a good way of, that's a interesting way of looking at it, actually.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's a negative way of looking at
Yeah.
what is a very beautiful location.
Mm. What do you hope for Dana in the future? Do you hope for a storyline that you would want to put in there, or, what can we
Mm.
expect for her?
Um, yeah, I hope I hope she gets to go on an adventure at some point.
Hmm.
It's definitely not like, the whole point of the show is that the adventure is right here at the bay. But I would love like a kind of mystery adventure, like a whodunit kind of thing that she has to go in a car and follow some clues and
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe she's got like a big cork board with like because she's quite a conspiracy theorist kind
Yeah.
of DIY detective. So I would love something like that for her.
Hmm. Yeah, that
Yeah.
would suit her actually. There's been many roles that you've speculated on.
I
What
think
was the other one where all the what was it, the washed up on the beach? Did you cover that already? I think you did.
oh no, no, yes,
When you
yes,
and
the
John found,
container.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh
Yeah, she
yeah,
was
so there's
all
many
over that.
scenes with containers. Yeah.
Yeah, apparently her and big steel boxes seem to go hand in hand.
Yeah. No. Did you ever watch Home and Away before, by any chance, before joining?
Yeah, I watched it when I was a kid. I don't remember when I started, and I don't remember when I stopped, but I definitely remember watching it
Yeah.
during the kind of Chris Hemsworthy era. That
Yeah,
was
yeah.
and I remember loving it. I remember it was like when my sister was like not eating, like if she was like taking too long to eat her dinner or whatever, our parents would be like, well, like Home and Away's on in an hour. So like it was very much a part of our childhood. Yeah.
Mhm. No, it's fun because I mean, it's more better when the cast watch it, if you know what I mean, and already know about the show. It's just sort of like
Yeah.
makes it more real. Um,
To-
so I don't know if you covered it already, but who would you like more on-screen time with?
Ooh, who would I like more on screen time with? Gosh, I'm trying to think. I mean, there's so many people there's so many
Mm.
people that I have such a good time with that I mean, like I never get any time with like which is fine. Our storylines just don't really cross over, but like Kirby and Eden and some of the gals from the band, like I
Yeah.
sort of yeah, I would love to spend a little more on screen time with them in general. And like Adam, I mean really the band. I never hang out with the band.
Mm.
So yeah, I could just play the
Yeah, that's true.
tambourine.
Yeah. Or you could just
Yeah,
join the
I will
band,
say
but
that
maybe.
if I ever do a scene with Matty Evans, I just can't explain. Like I just think he's so funny. He just has to look at me, and I just think he's so funny that I just actually can't handle. I don't do many scenes with Matty
Mm.
Evans, but I actually can't handle doing any more. Every time I
Yeah.
tell him this, like I can't do any more, Matty. Like I'm
Yeah.
sorry. If I
I
had
fe-
a say, I don't. But if I did, I literally can't.
I feel like he's only ever been around Justin, to be fair, as well in the show. He's just like, he's always just them two on the screen
It's
when
very
they
true.
do their
It's
part.
very true.
Mm.
Him and I laugh because we have kind of similar hair, and
Mm.
so we
Oh,
sort of
okay.
joke.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Be
That's
each
fun.
other's kind of body doubles if
Mm.
Theo gets really short and womanly
Yeah,
for a day, then I could be his body double.
yeah. No, that'd be funny. Apart from baking and obviously all the other stuff that you're doing on set and outside of work, are you doing anything else at the moment? Can we expect any more projects coming from you outside of Home and Away?
Not yet. I am always working on things at home, kind of, and with friends and collaborators
Mm.
outside of it, but nothing that would nothing that would be coming out anytime soon.
Okay.
So no, at the moment, if you want to see me, then go to the Bay.
Yeah.
That's where I am.
Turn on Channel 5. Yeah.
Yes, is it Channel 5 in the UK?
Yeah, in the UK it is, yeah. I think it. Oh no, it might be Channel 7 now, actually, still in the UK. So either
Channel
either
7?
one. I'll
Yeah,
take that bit
you have
out.
to say
Yeah,
it could be Channel 5 there.
yeah. I should know that really.
Right, where are
Yeah,
you in the
I do
UK?
watch it. So I'm in South UK, so it's like at the bottom of the map, along Portsmouth, Brighton. Do you know that
Oh,
area?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
When
I'm
I
in
think
between
about,
there.
I'm like, Cornwall's really low, isn't it?
Yeah, Cornwall's a bit further up that way, I
Oh,
think,
okay.
from where I am. Yeah, it's about a
Okay.
5 hour drive. Yeah.
I see, I see.
And
I
London's about, yeah.
spent a little time up in Durham.
Okay. Yeah, I know.
Right.
Heard of
Some
that.
time in the
Okay.
yeah. So
But,
nowhere near where you are, but I've been outside of London, is basically all I'm
yeah.
saying.
Do you plan on coming back at all? Um,
Um, I would love to. I mean, I've spent quite a bit. I spent a bit of time there, definitely in my early 20s.
yeah.
Because I had a partner there at the time, so I used to go back and forth quite a bit. But my sister is getting married in Scotland next year, so I'm definitely going over for that. And so I
Yeah.
hope to maybe pop into like London and see some old friends, and yeah, maybe. I mean, I love the UK. I'd love
Yeah.
to go back.
Yeah. No, we need more people in the UK from Australia. Yeah. That's cool. Ali, thank you so much for coming on. It's been amazing talking and hearing your experience.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much for having me. It's been great.
No problem. Cool.